In this video, we will be diving deeper into the relationship between African American stereotypes and the controversial debate about what makes a person Black. We will be investigating the intersection of these two subjects and finding out whether one contributes to the other. In other words, we will be answering the question, does the societal definition of African Americans contribute to the stereotypes placed on Black people today? Taking a look at how stereotypes were formed in today's society, we go back to the one-drop rule. The one-drop rule was created in order to identify the individuals that we place into the category of Black. A person that had any ounce of Black blood in them would be automatically placed in this group. In short, whether or not an individual is of Black ancestry was what was used to determine if that individual would be free or not. The one-drop rule was a significant contributor to the dehumanization of African Americans.
Even though the one-drop rule has dissipated over the past 2 centuries, today's society has moved towards the trend of using the similar facial features of African Americans to create their mental groups of who is Black and who is not. Stereotypical Black faces consist of some combination of facial features, including fuller lips, a wider nose, darker eye color, coarse hair, and a darker complexion. These physical features tend to strengthen our perception of what a Black person looks like.
Stereotypes have been formed ever since Africans came to America and were based upon white perception. One of the most prominent ones used and seen amongst whites was the savage. The belief that Blacks were mentally challenged, physically unevolved, and ape-like was further endorsed by prominent historical figures like Thomas Jefferson. This was spread through films in the early 1900s depicting Blacks as ape-like savages who were extremely violent. Although these historical stereotypes are not explicitly used in modern stereotypes today, which are the violent, brutish African American male and the dominant, lazy African American female, both still carry aspects of their earlier predecessors.
The question for this project was developed based on the observation that in society it's only possible to stereotype someone by placing them in a certain social group. For example, without mentally grouping African Americans together, it is impossible to create stereotypes that pertain to the people in that group. Thus, the main question we are asking is if the answer to the debate on what makes a person Black contributes to the creation of African American stereotypes.
Stereotypes, as defined by the Encyclopedia of Gender in Media, are overly simplified conceptions, images, or beliefs about individuals and specific social groups. Based on this definition, we believe that the historical mechanisms such as the one-drop rule and unique facial features make it easier for society to create mental groups of what an African American really is. Because we have these groups, we are able to create stereotypes about African Americans, such as their athletic superiority, aggressiveness, and poor socioeconomic background. For example, we rarely see strong stereotypes regarding Asians and African Americans together simply because society perceives these races as 2 separate bodies of people. Thus, without being in the same group, we are unable to create stereotypes of both Asians and Black people together.
Excuse me, do you have a minute?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm conducting a poll on the correlation of ethnicity to hours of sleep. Could I ask you a few questions for this survey?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, so let me go ahead and put you down as a white female. How many hours of sleep do you
I'm
get?
not white. I'm actually Lebanese.
Oh, my bad. I thought that because your skin is white, you identified as a white female. Excuse me, do you have a minute?
Yeah, sure.
So I'm conducting a poll on the correlation of ethnicity to hours of sleep. Could I ask you a few questions for this survey?
Yeah, you can.
Sweet, bet. I don't want to assume that you're white, so what ethnicity are you?
We shouldn't be using facial features to identify a person because it doesn't define who they are.
You don't know how a person will react or feel by your assumption of their ethnicity, so it's best to just ask them first before implying.
In a society that is increasingly more progressive, we can no longer assume what or who someone is primarily based on their physical characteristics. This pertains not only to race, but also gender and sexual identity.